Everyone talks about Malcolm's 165 IQ, but the kid everyone forgot about was doing things most kids his age could never do. Dewey was the actual genius in this family, and today I'll go over 8 moments to prove that he was at a whole nother level. In this episode, the boys are on the driveway playing basketball against Hal. When he falls, he starts claiming that he has a twisted ankle and can't go at full strength. He's either using it as a psychological edge or covering for the fact that his sons are actually getting close to beating him. They all get suspicious, but they leave him to rest. Later, Dewey sneaks out to the garage and spies on Hal until he catches him in the act and says this to him.
Get your sneakers. Faker.
Most of the intelligence the show credits to Malcolm involves extended narration and visible analysis. Malcolm catches people mid-scheme through monologues that let you see the gears turning out loud. Dewey does the exact same thing here in 4 words and then gets on with his day. The gap between recognizing a lie and actually calling it out cleanly is where a lot of people lose their nerve. Dewey had 0 hesitation. This one opens the list because it is a small moment, but it is exactly the kind of moment that shows you what someone is actually working with underneath the surface. However, as we move on the list, everything will be much clearer. On his way home from school, Dewey finds a stray dog and brings him home. The dog ends up being named Marshmallow. When Lois discovers the family's entire dinner has been eaten, Dewey climbs onto the table and eats the whole meal with his bare hands to cover for the dog, absorbing all the blame himself in real time. He then eats a candle when he gets caught and questioned, claiming casually that he just likes eating candles.
How could you eat a candle?
I like candles.
Which is absurd enough to completely derail the conversation about what actually happened. He ends up in the hospital getting his stomach pumped as well. What Dewey was calculating in real time is that absorbing the full physical and social cost of the situation himself was worth it to protect the dog and his secrets. He got to this conclusion in a matter of seconds with no hesitation and no attempt to shift the blame onto anyone else. The speed of that decision is what stands out most. He saw the problem, measured what solving it would cost him, and locked in. This actually shows us how fast his brain actually processes situations at such a young age. But this next moment is where we actually see his next level intelligence. Dewey is home alone while Malcolm is starting his first week at North High School. He goes into the garage, finds a hidden piano, opens a book called Learn Piano in 15 Minutes a Day, and immediately starts playing Clair de Lune by Claude Debussy. Just for context on what that piece actually is. Clair de Lune is one of the most technically demanding works in the classical piano repertoire. Professional pianists spend years on it. But Dewey finds the piano, opens the beginner book, and plays it. The episode treats this like a casual background detail, almost a throwaway gag, while Malcolm's storyline is the focus. But what it is actually showing is a kid with such a natural relationship to music that the gap between picking up an instrument for the first time and playing a concert-level classical piece is something he can close by himself in an afternoon with no teacher, no instruction, and no audience. He found a piano in the garage and played Clair de Lune, and nobody needed to know, which is so impressive, and it's important for his storyline later. But his intelligence and love for music doesn't stop there. In Malcolm Visits College, Dewey wants a piano, and Hal will not get him one. His response is to build his own instrument from scratch. So what does he do? He scavenges the horns from Hal's van, the horn from Lois's car, an ice cream truck horn, and pries the spout off the gutters on the house to complete a pipe organ he assembles in the garage. For a pipe organ to produce sound at all, you need enough understanding of acoustic principles to choose the right materials, enough structural logic to hold everything together in a way that actually functions, and enough musical knowledge to know what a successful result would even sound like when you are done. Dewey figures all of that out independently with no budget, no formal training, and no support from anyone in his family. The police who eventually discovered it were reportedly impressed by the creativity of what he had built. Coming right after the Clair de Lune moment, this one shows the other half of Dewey's musical intelligence. The first half is the ear, the natural ability to hear complex music and reproduce it. The second half is this, the engineering mind that looks at a pile of scrap parts and sees an instrument. Both halves are running simultaneously in the same kid. This is insane just by looking at it, let alone if you process what happened on the deeper level. But let's talk about Dewey's academic intelligence next. Here, Malcolm gets worried Dewey might score into the Krellboyne class on an IQ test, so he enlists Reese to take a copy of the test to produce deliberately average/wrong answers for Dewey to copy from. The problem is, Reese scores so far below any baseline that Dewey gets placed in the Busey's class, which is the school's class for emotionally disturbed children. Most kids in that situation would spend all their energy trying to get reassigned or get out. Dewey walks in, observes the room, and figures out within a short time that the Buseys are not disturbed at all. They are starved for stimulation, and their teacher, Mr. Sheridan, has completely checked out. So he starts teaching them. When he explains the Doppler effect to a classmate named Hanson, Hanson lights up because he has genuinely learned something for what seems like the first time.
Oh my god. I learned something! I learned something!
When the school later gives Dewey the chance to leave and go back to a normal class, he fakes a massive breakdown, ripping off his shirt and rolling on the floor to get sent back to the Buseys instead. He looked at the comfortable option and chose his friends. And the next moment is related to all of this as well. So after Dewey leaves the Busey's class, they miss him badly enough that they run away from school and set up camp in a tree near his house. There is an active Amber Alert issued for them. The situation is being treated as a full missing persons emergency. Dewey does not call the school, does not tell Hal and Lois, and does not push them to turn themselves in right away. He builds a supply operation around the tree. He delivers pizzas to them in the treetops. He runs a garden hose from the bathtub faucet outside so they have a way to shower. He uses a skateboard to launch a microwave, popcorn, and a television set up into the tree. He maintains all of this secretly while an Amber Alert is active. Hal's bodybuilder friends are out searching the neighborhood, and the regular chaos of the Wilkerson house is happening around him every day. And when the Buseys start talking about just migrating south and accepting they will lose some of their group to predators along the route, Dewey is the one who draws the line and insists they give themselves up. He makes the responsible call even when it ends the operation he built. Feeding, hiding, and managing a group of children in a tree during an active search is something most adults would not know where to start on, and not to mention the intelligence of consulting them to actually surrender and go back. Plus, as I said in the previous moment, he fakes a whole breakdown so he can join them again. In this episode, Dewey is working on an autobiography assignment and goes looking for childhood photos. His brothers have full albums, documented memories, proof that people were paying attention when they were small. Dewey, unfortunately, has nothing. A reasonable response would be to bring this to his parents and ask for some acknowledgement. What Dewey actually does is take Hal's wallet and build an elaborate multi-stop scavenger hunt that forces Hal and Lois to drive all over town collecting wallet pieces one stop at a time while picking up party supplies, wearing costumes, and being publicly humiliated at each location. They follow the trail to a Chuck E. Cheese and find Dewey waiting there with his younger brother Jamie. Then Dewey explains the whole operation was never for him.
It's too late for my childhood, but it's not too late for his.
Jamie?
Here's a camera, so now you have no excuse for not documenting every important event in Jamie's life.
The party was for Jamie because he did not want his little brother to grow up the way he did, with no record that anyone was watching. He took his own real grief and redirected it entirely into doing something for someone who had not been hurt yet. Lois takes a photo of Dewey's disappointed face at the end and tells him it is going in his memory book as his first photo. For this scheme to work, Dewey had to understand his parents' psychology, his brother's situation, and his own emotions clearly enough to design something that addressed all three at once. Three types of intelligence running at the same time. It's really insane, but not nearly insane as what he does next. Dewey is flipping channels, comes across an opera on television, decides to watch it, and then decides to write one. He composes an entire original opera based on his parents' argument over a king-sized bed, titled The Marriage Bed. He casts his Busey classmates in every role, gives them character names, costumes the whole cast, directs the production, and stages the whole thing as a school performance. Also, fun fact, the song The Marriage Bed literally won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Music and Lyrics in 2005. Dewey did not adapt someone else's work, did not get help from a teacher, did not work from a framework anyone else built. He watched an opera once, understood what the form was doing dramatically and musically, found a story in his own domestic life that had the emotional weight to carry it, and produced an Emmy-winning theatrical piece from nothing.
Everyone we know is here.
I hope Dewey doesn't embarrass himself.
Malcolm has a measured IQ and years of institutional recognition behind him. Dewey caught his father lying in 4 words, ate a candle to save a dog, taught himself Clair de Lune alone in a garage, built a pipe organ out of car parts, fixed an entire classroom the school had given up on, ran a covert supply operation during an Amber Alert, designed a citywide scheme for his baby brother, and then composed an original opera that, if it were real life, won an freaking Emmy. That's it, folks. With the new reboot series coming up, I'm really excited to see where Dewey ended up after he got older. Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for that, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.